What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. We are here in June. I can't believe it. Almost halfway done with this year. And I don't even know. Here we are in summer, Amanda, in Texas summer, which means it's hot as heck. And like, I'm already sweating right here in my seat. And Amanda and I met through a women's group that we were part of and really connected. We just connected on having kind of corporate, big brand, big experience being employed, and then having these personal brand aspirations and journeys. And then she has a podcast and a book, and thought that she was just a really great, perfect fit for my audience. So many of us navigating our career journey, whether we're working for somebody else or starting our own thing or whatever it is. So thanks for tuning in. If you're watching live with us or catching it in the replay, super cool, great. Say hello, let us know where you're in from. Send over any questions that you have. We'll be checking the comments and engagement along the way. Now, with that, Amanda, yay! Let's first just get a quick, who the heck are you? Tell us a little bit to your journey of, becoming an EVP. You're an author now, podcast host. So let's start there and then we'll keep going.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. You and I have known each other for a little over a year, and I had you on my podcast, and this just feels like a full circle moment to be able to come and share this time with you and your audience now. So I appreciate it.
Yes.
And yeah, a little bit about me, I was that person who growing up just found so much what I thought was joy and success and achievement. And in my corporate career, climbed up the ladder very quickly, had a lot of goals that I was chasing, a lot of aspirations, and essentially got to the EVP role. So I'm an executive vice president, and essentially right around 10 years in my career, which is really fast. And with that, as you imagine, there was a lot of hard work. There was a lot of dedication. There was a lot of time away from home, outside of my home. When I became a mother a couple of years ago, everything kind of hit the fan, which I know a lot of women have that experience, that big identity shift that happens when you transition from not being a mother and then being a mother and trying to figure out who you are. So I realized during that period that on the outside looking in, I had this life that looked perfect, right? I had a thriving career. I had a beautiful family. I had all of these accomplishments, but inside I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. And I didn't really even like myself, if I'm being honest. And it really forced me to say, why do I feel this way? What do I really want with my life? And I started to pick up the pieces from there once I started to get crystal clear on what it is that I actually want. But I realized that I was chasing a version of success that somebody else had defined for me. I started doing all the things and chasing all these things because I thought it was what I was supposed to do to be successful. And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. But once you kind of get really clear on what it is that you want, you can move into this phase of aligning what success looks like for you, truly who you are at your core. And that's what I had to go through in this transition period, like leading up to now. So it's like who Amanda was 3 to 4 or 5 years ago is completely different than the woman sitting here right now. Amanda prior was the people pleaser. I said yes to everything because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I just said yes to every single opportunity. And now I'm more discerning, because if something doesn't align with who I am and where I'm going, then I don't want to do it, and I've gone through this transitional journey. It hasn't been easy. Obviously, it's had a lot of like ups and downs, but it's been very rewarding now that I'm on this side of it.
So you're an EVP at a company, and I have to imagine you've been making a shift the last couple of years. You're still EVP, and you're saying you've taken back kind of your voice, your boundaries, that people pleaser thing, trying to stop it. Yet you're working for somebody else, and you have a side hustle, side business. How the heck are you doing that? Like, how? Because I feel like that's what many women and many people would love to do, because they like what their jobs, but they feel like I can't do both. So how the heck are you doing that? And how has your leadership shifted as you're managing both?
Well, what's interesting is that I realized that I couldn't do both, not to the level that I wanted to do it. And I was doing it successfully, from what I would consider successful for a while. And then I realized, why am I spreading myself so thin? Why am I chasing all of these things? I actually had a very serious conversation with my husband about 6 or 7 months ago, and I'll spare everybody all the details, but the nut of the conversation was that I was chasing so much outside of our home and not focusing enough on what I had already built, what I had already created, this life, this beautiful life that I already had, and everything was going outwards. And so he kind of held up the mirror that I needed to see, because I was too afraid, or maybe just unaware at the time, to even notice what was happening. But I was spread so thin. My stress was so high. I just wasn't sleeping, and when I actually sat down after I was mad about the conversation, and realized that there was a lot of validity to what he was saying, that I was chasing so much of this external success when I had so much success in my life. So to answer your question, I actually started stripping away a lot of the things that I was doing. We mentioned my podcast. I actually paused my podcast. It might be definitely, I don't know. But in this season that I'm in, I paused it. I had a handful of volunteer positions that I was in. I also removed myself from those. And I essentially stopped my business. I did all of those things within the past, I'd say 6, 7, 8 months. And over the course of that time, it gave me a little bit more space to finish writing my book, to get it published, to put it out into the world. But so I don't think there is, truly, I don't think there is a way to do it all. And anybody who tells you that they're doing it all, Rachel, they're not.
Yeah.
If they are, they're not doing all of the things at the level that they could be doing one or two things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I was that person who said yes to everything. I would be holding 10 different plates at a time, and people would ask me the same question that you just asked: how are you doing it? And I was able to do it for a certain period of time. But I had to realize that the season that I'm in right now, that is not what I need. I have already achieved so much. It is okay to just take your foot off the gas, and maybe the ambition shifts from these outward accomplishments, these milestones, these goals, and maybe it's focused more inward to what I've already created, what I've already built, and just enjoy it. Right? Enjoy it. Like, why are we always chasing the next thing, the next milestone? Why do we put so much pressure on ourselves to reach this next level? And it's like, you have so much time to do those things. Sometimes it is okay to just pause and just be, which is really, really hard if you're like if you're like me, which I know you're nodding your head. Yeah. The ambitious go-getter, like, it's so hard to conceptualize when you feel like your worth is tied to your productivity.
Yeah.
I had to reframe that for myself. Yeah.
Worth being tied to productivity. How many people that are listening or watching feel that? I know I have the same conversation with myself every day. And it's not natural, Amanda, actually, especially for women. Like, it's really going against our natural tendencies, our feminine tendencies, what our body wants. And, like this comment or not, the, boss lady, and I am a lady boss, the boss lady, boss babe, all of those things that have been created over the last decade plus, particularly through social media, have in some ways like really hurt us women. And I think the millennial, our kind of age bracket, we're starting to realize that like less is actually more, because I'm burned out, I'm not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tough awakening, wouldn't you say? Like, redefining you, it's like you're like, well, what the fudge is you if I'm not doing 20 things and accomplishing so much?
Well, and that's the thing, is most people have no idea. They have no idea who they are when you strip away all of these things and these titles and all the accomplishments. Like, that's what redefining you is to me. Like, it's more than just words. It's a movement. It's that permission for you to really ask yourself, what is it that you really want? Because you are so spot on. So many women, especially in our age group, are burnt out. They're exhausted. They're burning the candle at both ends because society shifted so fast in how women show up in the world. And we did it to ourselves. Okay. So don't hate me for saying it, but it's true. Like, I believe in having the right to do what you want to do, but we have done it to the extreme, and it's been our detriment, where we're still trying to be the caregiver. We're still trying to take care of our houses and all of these to-dos and all the tasks. And we're trying to excel at work. And we're doing it really, really well, by the way. We're climbing ladders. We're becoming CEOs. We're owning businesses. We're, investing in other people's businesses. We're doing all of the things, but we're not coming back to taking care of ourselves, to resting, to filling up our cup. And I hate the cliche, put on your oxygen mask before you put on somebody else's. But it's so true. And because we are so strong in who we are, we can go a long time without our oxygen mask on until you can't. And then that's when you hit that burnout. That's when you hit that wall, that midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it, right? It's this construct that we have built on ourselves. And that's what I get back to is why?
Yeah.
Why? Like, why at the end of the day do you feel like you need to chase this thing? A lot of times people are like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. And I'm like, well, who told you you should?
Yeah.
Who told you you should?
Yeah.
Success can look like any way that you want it to. Your life can literally look any way that you want it to. I'll give an example of just like giving yourself the space. I had somebody cancel a call on me. It was like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And my first thought was, oh, I could start working on this other thing that I needed to get done. And I said, you know what? No, I'm going to use this time and I'm just going to sit here for 5 or 10 minutes and just be silent, read. I actually looked out the window and just watched the leaves ruffle in the wind, which I know sounds really crazy to people, but it is so empowering and so energetic to just sit and do nothing, because that's what my body felt like I wanted to do in that moment, instead of just jumping to the next thing. Because there's always going to be things to do. Always.
Yeah. Oh my God. I do the same thing. Oh, I got another 30 minutes and I got the kids in 1 hour. So that leaves, I gotta, squeeze it all in right now. And then the value, right, of sending the email or doing the work is sometimes higher for me than not sometimes. There's always more value in my wacky brain of doing the things for work and then for the kids before myself.
Yep.
And so who ultimately I'm the one that suffers, and then everybody else suffers too, because I'm not bringing my full self, because it's so counterintuitive to at least how I have done my life, and similar to you. And it's really refreshing, I think, that we're starting to take a stance and say like, no, this doesn't feel good and I need something more, and that I want to live to like 100 and like be a great mom. And what does my body need in this moment? I need to like just go look at some leaves, and that's what I need.
You make me sound psychotic, but yes.
I very often will take breaks, go on a walk with the dogs. I don't bring the phone. So very often, like you have to. Okay, so you started talking about the book, Redefining You. And there's a 4-step process around confidence and purpose and clarity. Can you talk a little bit about why you wrote this and what can people expect when reading it?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you mentioned, it is a 4-step process to find confidence, clarity, and purpose as a woman. And it did spring from the identity shifts that I had in early motherhood. I suffered from postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. And whether somebody is a mother or not, the applications in this book still hold true. And that's why I say that it's the 4-step process for a woman, not for a mother. Which originally when I wrote the book, I was talking to mothers, but as the words came out and as the book evolved, I said, there's a bigger message here. It needs to be for women in general, especially because I know so many women personally who are not mothers, who are still going through maybe not an identity crisis, but they're suffering from imposter syndrome and self-doubt and worthiness. And so what we work through in this book is like building your confidence, because I think confidence is like the root of everything, right? When you have that confidence, you can show up the way that you need to, but you have to know how to do it. And it's a muscle. You have to continually work on it. It's not something you have or you don't have, right? So we work on building the muscle. We work on figuring out what your strengths are, what your values are. And then we bring in a clarity piece where we get to the root of what is it that you actually want? Because you can ask somebody that question, and half the people, maybe more than that, won't even be able to tell you what they want because they've never given themselves the space and the time to figure that out. So it's, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? How do you want to be as a boss, as a leader, as a woman, as a wife, as a whatever the title is, right? Who do you want to be as that person? Getting really clear on that, and then developing the habits and goals that help bring that person to life. And so it's just this framework that evolves. Each step builds on the next to get you to a place where you feel really confident in this next version of who you want to be, and leaning you towards becoming that person. Because a lot of times I feel like people will just start with habits. They're like, oh, you want to be successful? You need to get up at 5 a.m. and you need to do this. You need to have a 10-step morning routine. And it's like, okay, but why? Does that really align with who you want to become? Does that really fit with who you are in this season? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it looks completely different for you, but you never know until you get really clear on what it is that you want. I have this, one of my favorite analogies that I use is a GPS analogy, and I use it throughout the book. And I mean, everybody's familiar with the GPS, right? You pull it up on your phone, you put in a destination, you hit go, and what happens? A bunch of different routes pop up. And that's very similar to what this clarity piece of understanding what it is you really want. Because once you get crystal clear on that, you might not know how you're going to get there, or there can be different routes that get you there. But the point is, you're slowly moving towards what it is that you really want, who you really want to become. But first you have to get clear on who that is. Because if you don't put any destination in, what happens? The map just blinks, just the green light blinking. And you're just aimlessly moving through life, which is what most people do, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think about that all the time. I love this. I love that it's simple, and clarity is always the first piece of anything, from a marketing standpoint too, right? Communication. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
Now, tell me about your career journey, and you're in telecom a bit. So we have the book, and you have this journey of also becoming an EVP. I have people that follow me that are mid-level career. And so they have this book, right? They can give us this 4-step process, which is amazing. What's your advice to that person that's listening? They're, maybe they're in their 20s, young 30s, and mid-level, and thinking about like, man, I think I want to get to an EVP role. How did you kind of navigate the career journey for yourself? What would you say to that younger woman?
Oh man, I think truly at the core of what has helped me get to where I am today is the network that I have built. Networking and building relationships will take you so far in life. Obviously, you have to have skills to back it up, right? And you can develop skills, you can cultivate who you are as a leader and all of those things. But every single step in my career since I got in the industry that I'm in right now, every opportunity was brought to me by somebody that I met in the industry. It wasn't from me posting my resume or reaching out to their HR. It was them coming to me because I had developed and made it a point early on in my career that I wanted to get to know everybody. I wanted to build those relationships and mentor with people, watch people, see how they move, how they act, how they lead, how they respond to issues, troubles, even just how they respond to emails. I was soaking it all in. And then I was able to just piece all of that together, take little pieces here and there to develop them as my own. But it all came back to developing those relationships. And firsthand how key that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people, just a sidebar, like from a networking standpoint, so many people are so terrified of networking. Like if you take them to a networking event, because they're like, what am I going to say? I don't know what to say. And I always tell people, I'm like, it's literally not about you. It is not about you. This conversation is about them. And if you make it feel about them too, be interested not interesting. That's where a lot of people fall short. And they're like, what am I going to say? I want to sound smart. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. I want to sound good at my job. And it's like, but if you just ask questions and you get curious and you make it about them and not about you, that is what networking is. That is how you build the rapport. That is how somebody will remember you over the 50 other people they talked in their room, because you ask them questions, and people love to talk about themselves.
So true. Oh, such good advice, Amanda. I say similar to younger folks. I'm like, start listening, do your research, and then just, you're 100%. People just want to talk about themselves. And when you're curious, it makes you interesting.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I will say too, people think that when you get to a certain level that you're no longer learning, that you already know everything, right, in your respective field or your respective line of business. And I'm like, even with the role that I'm in right now, I still to this day ask questions. I ask questions, I follow up with more questions, curious, want to learn, because it's all about understanding. Because again, I just go back to, not only does that help you, but it helps build that bond between you and whoever it is that you're asking the question with. They get an endorphin kick out of it because they feel like they helped you, and you've never been doing something too long to still learn. And I think that's where people fall short, or they get cocky, they get in their head, they're like, oh, I've been doing this for 17 years now, like I know everything. And it's like, you don't. You don't. There's always something to learn. There's always a perspective from somebody else's view. There's always a different way to look at something. And so I'm continually doing that even now in my career. And that actually, just a little side note too, used to hinder me a little bit when I was younger in my career. I would think that I had to know all the answers, that I had to be knowing everything about my company and our offerings and our services when I would go into meetings to talk to clients. And I realized at a certain point that that's not true. I don't have to know everything. That is not my skill set. I'm not a super technical person, but you know what I am? I am friendly and I'm warm and I'm kind and I know how to develop relationships with people. That is what I leaned into versus I need to know everything, all the ins and outs of this technical side of our business. And it was like, that's not really true. There are people who specialize in that, and I can always get people the answers that they know. And once I realized that I didn't have to be the one who had all the answers, man, does that free up so much space to be able to just move through your day and through your career.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so good. So true. Okay. As we come to our close, just a couple rapid fire questions that I think is fun. One word that describes you right now.
Oh, I love this. My year of this, the word of the year for me is ease.
Okay. Ease.
Yes. Ease. Yes. Yes. Leaning into my feminine. I want things to be flow and easy and fun and light. So ease is my word for sure.
Great.
Yes.
Coffee, tea, or something else?
Oh my God. I love coffee. Love, love, love. I gave it up like 2 weeks ago.
Oh
no. Okay. I'm kind of a weird health person, and every once in a while I'll just like cut something out completely just to like give my body a break, but just like also prove that I can do it. So I'm on like my kick of no caffeine.
Sounds
for now. But I love coffee.
Okay. Not even decaf you get to have right now? Can you do that?
I mean, I can do whatever I want. Like, yes. You said get to have. I can do whatever I want. If I really want it, I will have it. Okay. But I'm choosing not to.
Okay, well, keep me posted on that and how you do.
I will say, I did it for the entire, I think, first like 18 months of my son's life.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went through early postpartum with no caffeine.
I literally don't know how you did that. Godspeed.
Special kind of person, I guess. I don't know.
Literally. Okay, a book that changed your life besides your own.
Oh, of course, of course. I love this question because I'm a book fanatic. I love the book, The Third Door by Eric, not Eric, it's Alex Banyan. A lot of people haven't heard of it. It's a phenomenal book. When he was in college, he basically rigged How to Win, like The Price is Right, and he used that money to fund this project where he just wanted to interview really successful people, like people who are at the pinnacles of their career, on how they got where they got. So he interviewed people like Steven Spielberg, Bill Gates, Lady Gaga, a handful of other just like really famous people. He was able to get interviews with them, and basically how they got successful was through a third door. It wasn't the front door like everybody thinks, and it wasn't a side door. It was this third door, basically the opportunity that they created for themselves. It is eye-opening. It is a wonderful book.
Love that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
put it on my list. Okay, last one. What's your go-to pump-up song before maybe a meeting or speaking?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't even say what my song really is. So
You say it. You have to say it.
okay, I am a 90s rap girl, and so like 90s rap, 2000s rap. Oh god, this is going to be so embarrassing. Miss New Booty by Bubba Sparks.
Oh my
I
God.
love it. I
Yes.
love it. I love it.
Amanda, see, you never know what like. That shows us all something very fun and spunky inside of you. Bubba, like, by the way, if you're Gen Z and you don't know that, please go do some research. You need to know Bubba.
Oh, Bubba Sparks, you know. I'm sure most people are like, oh yeah, Katy Perry, or I don't know, but
No,
okay.
there's no judgment here, Amanda. Okay.
Okay. What's your pump up song? I need to know.
Well, Lady Gaga, Born This Way was the walk up song I always wanted. And I had the amazing opportunity to MC the Women in Tech Network conference. And I finally had my chance
Oh, I
to
love
take
that.
the stage with the song. But I think I'm going to need a part B on this too, but I'm a huge Gaga fan.
Oh my God, I am too. I've seen her in concert so many times. I was actually, my first pump up song used to be Poker Face by Lady Gaga, which made sense when I was like younger because I had to fake it till I made it, right? So it's like, yeah, they don't really know what's going on. It's my Poker Face. I share the love with you.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today. Hey, y'all, make sure you go and connect, follow Amanda, go check out her book. We'll put the links in the comments, and we'll see you back next month. Keep the questions, comments coming in. I love you so much. Have a great June. Amanda, thank you for hanging with us. And with that, we'll see you soon.